Hi Sarah, I thought I would send you a recording of the file that I'm working on at the moment, so that you've got a bit of a kind of idea in the pre-run-up to what I'm going to be sort of talking about and discussing. So what we see here is the program, which is Cyclone Register, which is the Leica program, which I've been granted the software access for this year, although I'm going to cheekily ask them for an extension on that because I've got some slightly grander plans. But if I click onto the bundle cloud here, you can see the culmination of all of these scans together. So on the right hand side here, you can see, can I maximize that? Oh, okay. If I hover over here, you can see that these are the actual photographic images taken by the LiDAR scanner in my grandparents' house, which is now partly my house, although it's probably worth only a couple of euros, but still, it's part of the legacy of, I guess, what I'm talking about here. So what I did was I went around the house and I moved all of the furniture out of the rooms, and I got as clean a cleaner scan as I could in each of those spaces. Unfortunately, this scan, for some reason, captured in black and white, and I was back in Spain this summer and the scanner wouldn't work, so there's a bit of an anomaly in one of the rooms. But ultimately I think that and I was chatting with some colleagues. Ultimately, the anomalies in this work is not perfect. I mean, let me just sort of show you what's going on here. So this is all of the scans of every room together, and I believe there's 36 scans, and this is over 1 billion points. So when I say a point, I mean like these individual points, which means that this is quite processor intensive. You may be hearing my computer's fan kicking in. I've got a very powerful PC, but still. So what I really like about this, and this does relate to the artist Rachel Whitbread's work as well, who made casts of the inside of houses and casts of the inside of chairs. So what you saw was not the actual chair, but the imprint the leg and the negative space had. So for me, this is like a way of coming to terms and mediating with this space that is and was my father's home and was my family's home since the 1950s. So as we come in through the front door, you can see that we have these red points here. They won't be in the final piece, but they are the actual physical positions of where the scans were taken. So you can see here how we're capturing these family portraits, and while some of them aren't as visible as others, it certainly, I think, shows the kind of ghost-like image, or the kind of for me, as a way of mediating as with memory. And the fact that they're not perfectly rendered, for me, is actually perfect. Otherwise we'd be looking at some hyper-realistic game, and that's not what I have any intention of doing with this project. So this space was the hardest to capture. This is the main dining room for the house, and there's like lots of mirrors here. I'm sorry, glass here, and also to the reverse. Where am I going? I'm going over here. To the reverse, the cabinet here. It's extremely difficult to capture glass, because what glass does is it fires the laser points back at you, and that means that you have ghosting. So that's why we have the kind of ghosting of the table here in the middle of the room. I've tried my absolute best to try and eliminate as much of the ghosting as possible, But again, like I think this leaves the artist's mark, and for me that's not a problem. But I love the way that we catch the glimpses. This is my grandmother and father here, my cousins on her first Holy Communion, and yes, I'll just take you through to this was the living space. So very sort of traditional La Manchean living space. I love the ghost-like way that some of these pictures on the wall are captured. I have full detailed photographs of all of these objects, by the way, that can be used in the reference points. Picture of myself and my sister when we were miniature, Christmas, etc. And then the more slightly less glamorous space of the kitchen, and even the toilet. Yep. But then outside into the yard space. So this is, for me, is an interesting space because this was originally used to keep the pigs. And this was a domestic space. It's now a space of family, community, and this was my granddad's workshop. He made all of the wicker chair tops. He weaved these even until his very last days. He was still out here banging around and knocking about things. So for me, this is a great space, and it does have the hallmarks of kind of a change, i.e. there's a fridge out here, there's buckets and mops and stuff, but this was the space as I found it, and that's what I captured. And then we go further into the yard, and again this was very much the domestic space where pigs were kept. This is the outdoor kitchen where the family still cooked their paella on the big gas stove that they have here, or they use the big charcoal stove here. But you can see the pots and pans up there, and that's the gas they use for the paella. And then this wall here is like of special memory to me. This was where I can remember thinking, that's strange. Why have they only got so many tiles in this particular place? And then I saw my grandmother whacking the rabbits' heads against them and then hanging them on this hook. And then, that was an eye-opener to me. That the domesticity, the rurality, and the reality of killing what you eat. And then just the kind of the flotsam and jetsam, the burnt the wood from the campo that is used to heat the house in the winter. This very, very rural to me. So then if we go upstairs, we come to a slightly stranger space for me anyway. Again, please ignore these red dots and green lines. They're just links between the scans. If you I could explain how this works, but you have to line 36 of these scans up, so they match, and it's very difficult. It took me forever to do it. But this was the last room that I stayed in the house when my father was alive. Again, the black here is a mirror, and it has been really hard. It was really hard to capture because the sun. This is right in the middle of the high street, and it rises on the south and sets on the. The sun goes very quickly overhead, so you have to get it fast. You can see here again. This is the outline of the scanner, and it is cast. Obviously, it's been cast. Shadow's been cast, and again, I don't dislike that as an archive. I think, yes, it's not perfect, but that's just the remnants. And this is one of my particularly favourite happy accidents of the work so far. This is my grandfather and his father and his mother. And I believe this photograph would have been taken around 1950, I would say. But yeah, it's quite stark, and it's quite it has that very austere Spanish angle to it, and that's what I like about that. And then this space, the main space up here, if I can, here we go, the main space up here. What I'm planning to do is I'm planning to go back out with the LiDAR scanner next year and take some scans of some olive trees, and I want there to be an olive tree in the middle of this room, because the olive tree was what allowed me to see my father for the last time before he passed, because my grandfather sold the olive grove they owned. And that kind of relates to some of the theory and some of the stuff that we've been talking about in La Oliva, Casadas, is it Casadas? But yes, so that's what I would like to have in this space, because it's a big space and it's not used. This room over here is a really important room. This is the spot. This is the room where my father passed away, and I took a scan directly from where he would have been lying when he died. Unfortunately, there's some wardrobes that were put in here, and I just couldn't get them out, but I don't really care. But for me, this is an important part of this whole exercise, because I think what I'm really trying to explore here is something a bit more personal than the kind of general Spanish Civil War narratives that I've been trying to explore. And the fact that these old hand wash basins are still there. It's really like going back in time. And again, I have images of all of these artifacts on the wall and whatnot. And then finally, Sarah, what I'll show you is this room here, which was the curado. So this was where they would hang up the pigs after they've killed them. And it's now like a room really that's just full of junk. But for me, it's really interesting junk, and it's child's dollhouses and baskets, and it really tells a story. I think the remnants of this space, and you can still see actually up here the rope. These are still the original ropes that they would use to cure the meat on. So yeah, I just wanted to give you kind of a bit of a guided tour on that, because I couldn't make it today. So I hope this is not too lengthy or too I don't know, too indulgent of me to send you this and show you this. But this is what I captured. It took me every single hour of 7 days to do it. And it's still not perfect. There are holes because I missed some things with the scans, and they do fill in. But this will be, I'm debating whether this is going to be something which is more expressive, such as an animation with narration, or whether it will actually be a 3D interactive piece. I want it to be a 3D interactive walk around piece. But putting this into the game engine that I'm using, Unreal, it makes my computer nearly catch fire because of the amount of data in here. All of these points have to be rendered in real time. But hopefully you find this quite fascinating to have a look around my grandparents' house. Well, actually, it's now partly my house. And again, that's part of the narrative. I think it's about legacy, and it's about this thing this thing, which is, you know, it holds so much memory for me, and it's ugly beautiful to look at. It doesn't look like a real thing really. It's an inside out house, and maybe my narrative is an inside out understanding of um, my relationship with my family and with Spain, and uh, focusing slightly more, I think, in my research, Sarah, on identity and um, what it means to be a kind of like, I don't want to use the word Spanglish, but I was talking with someone who I met in Brighton recently, who is her name's Mafraj Alvarez, and she's an artist in Brighton, and she, like me, was born in Essex, was brought up with this dual citizenship. So that's certainly something where I feel that my research is moving towards, and I don't think, but this is by any means the last piece of practical work that I'm going to be capturing, but this is the fruits of my first year of labour, and there's plenty of time left to make this, I think, into something really quite outstanding, hopefully from a practical perspective, and hopefully from an academic perspective, because that's the thing that I'm slightly more concerned about. Not concerned, but it doesn't come as easy to me as creating digital work. And also, I'm going to rescind that last phrase of saying something outstanding. It will be outstanding maybe to me, and that's all that matters. Again, I like the way that this technology, the LiDAR scans, puts the images that they find on the walls on the outside. This is my auntie Piedad, but there is something ugly about this, and something also beautiful, I think, and it's about it's almost like a patchwork quilt of digital memories for me. I know all of these rooms intimately through different points in my life, so I need to sort of think about how I can elucidate that in the written word.